Okay, so we are working on 5.5 today, and our concept for today is solve by something called completing the square. Okay, solve by completing the square. So, to start off with, all your instructions are going to ask you to solve. Okay, for example, 1, if I gave you the problem x squared plus 20x plus 100 equals 81. X squared plus 20x plus 100 equals 81. Now, in Unit 4, we told you have to move everything to one side and then factor and solve. Okay? This one is a perfect square. Okay? Do you recognize that this is going to be a perfect square? Can anyone tell me what is the square of?
9.
Okay. This is x plus 10 times x plus 10. Okay, if you factored that, which is x plus 10 quantity squared. Okay? If you recognize that, it makes life a lot easier. Okay, so this is x plus 10 quantity squared equals 81. Now, if you know that you have a perfect square there, how can I get rid of the square? You root it. Question, Maddie? No? You got it? Okay. Root both sides. Now, what do you have to remember if you root both sides? Plus or minus, right. So, x plus 10 equals plus or minus 9. Now, is this one that I have to split into 2, or can I leave it alone? Has to be split. You should know that you have to split it because this is, when you move that 10, if you subtract 10, this is a like term. Okay? You can add 9 and a negative 10. So you know that you have to split this to be x plus 10 equals positive 9 and x plus 10 equals negative 9. Then subtract 10, we get x equals negative 1. Subtract 10 again, x equals negative 19. Okay? What we are going to work on today is making these equations. Okay? We're going to work on making these equations because these are perfect squares. So it's nice when we have these, we just root both sides and you solve. Okay? But not always are you going to have those perfect square equations. Okay? So for example number 2, you do need to write down these words. Okay? If I tell you, find the value of C that makes x squared plus 26x plus C a perfect square trinomial. So I'm going to find the value of C that makes x squared plus 26x plus C a perfect square trinomial. Then write the expression as a perfect square trinomial. Excuse me, as the square of a binomial. Sorry. Then write the expression as the square of a binomial. Okay, so there is a formula to doing this. Okay, it's a fairly simple formula. Okay, what you need to know is we are going to take b divided by 2 and square it. Okay, b is always the middle number, right? So this could also be written as middle number divided by 2 quantity squared. Okay, so to make a perfect square trinomial, we always take the middle number divided by 2 and square it. So up here, if I had the middle number was 20, if I divided it by 2, that would be 10. 10 squared is 100. Okay, so that makes a perfect square trinomial. Here we're going to do the exact same thing. Okay, so in this equation, what is my middle number? 26. So you take 26 divided by 2 and square it. Okay? So 26 divided by 2 is 13. 13 squared is what? 169. Now, this is also nice because it tells you your binomial. Okay, so if I want to write this factored, this is x plus 13 quantity squared. Okay, so that middle number divided by 2 is always your perfect square. Okay, so this is asking you, this question was asking you to find the value of c. So your c value is 169. And if I want you to write the expression as the square of a binomial, that's how I want you to write it. Okay, that's your answers there. So here, this was your first answer. This is the second answer. It was a 26. Okay, let's try another one. For number 3, okay, again, I want you to find the value of c to complete the square. This whole thing is called completing the square. Okay, so find the value of c to complete the square. Write the expression as the square of a binomial. Sorry, I kind of ran out of room. So write the expression as the square of a binomial. That's basically asking you to write it factored. Okay? Write the expression as the square of a binomial. It's basically saying write it factored. Okay, if I gave you the expression x squared minus 5x plus c. X squared minus 5x plus c. So again, I'm going to use that same kind of formula here. Middle number, or b, divided by 2, quantity squared. So my middle number here is what?
Does it negative?
Negative 5. Okay, so negative 5 over 2 divided by 2, quantity squared. So can I simplify negative 5 over 2? No, it stays just like that. Now, but I can square that. So basically my b value, whatever's going to go inside my parentheses, is always what's inside there. Okay, so whatever's going to factor is always the middle number divided by 2. So this is what's going to automatically be inside your parentheses. Okay, that is the number that will be inside your parentheses. Now, I haven't found the c value yet though. Okay, so how do I square that? What's negative 5 squared? Positive 25 over 2 squared is 4. So this is your c value, and this is how we write the perfect square of the binomial. That's it for that one. Okay, we're just asking you to find the c value and then to write it as a binomial squared. Any questions so far? Not too bad, hopefully. Okay. Now we're going to move on to actually solve by completing the square. Okay, so now I'm actually going to ask you to solve them. Okay, so for number 4, I'm telling you to solve by completing the square. Okay, solve by completing the square. Okay. If I give you the equation x squared minus 10x equals negative 1. X squared minus 10x equals negative 1. The first thing you want to do here is create a space. Okay, so x squared minus 10x, and we're going to fill in our c value, equals negative 1. Now, if I add something to one side, what do you think I have to do to the other side? Add it to the other side. Okay, you have to create a balanced equation. So if you add something to one side, you have to add it to the other side. Okay, so we're going to find our c value. Okay, how do I find that c value? Take the middle number, divide it by 2, and square it. Okay, so what is my middle number? Negative 5 squared. So that means already I should know that I am creating an x minus 5 quantity squared. Okay? So here, if I simplify that, what is negative 5 squared? 25. So writing your equation, we add in 25. And again, if I add it on one side, I also have to add it on the other side. So now I've created my equation. What does it equal? 24. Okay, it equals 24. Now that I've created my equation and it's a perfect square equation, now I can solve. Okay, how do I solve? Root both sides. Okay, that's the whole goal of what we're doing here. We're creating this so that I can root both sides. That gives you x minus 5 equals plus or minus, what breaks out of 24?
2, 6.
It should break down to be 2 root 6. Okay, if you didn't get that, that would break to 4 and 6, 2 and 2, 2 and 3. Okay, these go away. Take out a pair of 2's, left behind is 6. Now, do I need to split this up when I move this over? Why? Why do you not need to split this up? Because it's not going to be like terms. Okay, if you write it separately, that's fine. But you do not have to write this separately. Okay, also make sure that you write this in the right spot. Okay, remember, the real portion, then the root. Okay, so the whole number, then the root. And that's your answer. Okay, so x equals 5 plus 2 root 6, and x equals 5 minus 2 root 6. So you could see this written either ways, either combined like that, or you could see it written separately. Anybody have a question on how I did that? Okay, let's try one more. This will be the last one. Again, I want you to solve by completing the square. Okay, solve by completing the square. X squared minus 12x plus 4 equals 0. Solve by completing the square. So hopefully just by the instructions, you should be able to tell, is this factorable? Is this a perfect square trinomial? Is this right now? How it is?
No, it's not right now. But
Does anything multiply to 4 and add to negative 12? No. So you need to move the 4 to the other side, exactly. So x squared minus 12x, we want to leave that space, equals negative 4. Okay, so we're creating a space and we have to fill it in. Okay, how do I figure out how to fill it in? Take the middle number, divide it by 2, and square it. Okay, so start with negative 12 divided by 2 is negative 6 quantity squared. Negative 6 quantity squared is 36. So that tells you I'm going to add 36 to both sides. Make sure you add it to both sides. Then how do I write this as a perfect square? What is that? X minus 6 quantity squared. Now, you could know that. You could either factor this. You could think about it. What multiplies to 36 adds to negative 12. Or you could realize that this number in the middle goes right there. Okay? So it's kind of like cheater factoring. It's already done for you. You don't really have to think that much. Okay? Equals negative 4 positive 36 gives us 32. What's my next step in solving? Root both sides. Okay, if you root both sides, we got x minus 6 equals plus or minus 32 breaks down to what? 4 root 2?
Yeah.
Okay, you know that because it broke down 2 and 16. 16 breaks to 4 and 4. You do not have to break it down anymore once you have a pair. Now, do I need to split this up or can I leave it? Leave it. Okay, so x equals 6 plus or minus 4 root 2. That's your answer. Okay, 6 plus or minus 4 root 2. Okay, homework for this is going to be, you are working on page 288. You are doing numbers 3 through 8 and 12 to 27. 3 through 8, 12 to 27.